Super fan Saturday in South Africa. 2 games of rugby. I've just watched them much after the fact. It's my Sunday night here in New Zealand, but I've just gone and watched these games. I did watch them at the same time. But man, there was something deeply satisfying about watching these games. Now, they were essentially like pre-season games, warm-up games, nothing on the line. But something about having South African rugby back was like deeply joyful. If you followed my channel for any length of time, you know I'm not a huge fan of like the Marvel Super Rugby jerseys. Like I don't have a problem with them. I've just always thought if I'm going to buy a jersey, I'm going to get like the traditional one. But even as I was watching those games, I was like, damn, I wish I had one of those jerseys because it was just fantastic to see these guys back in action. Absolutely glorious. Some of the young guys I'd never seen before, some of the old guys back in the country, and some of the guys who were there before lockdown, man. Definitely a very fun one to have the South African teams back in action. And there's more to come. It's only going to get better. But let's start with the 2 games. The first one was the Bulls and the Sharks. Now, admittedly, I did watch these games at the same time, like I mentioned. I had this one on the TV with the volume fully up. I had this one on the laptop with the volume rather down because I was worried they would spoil this result for me if I watched... spoil this result if I watched this one first. I'm sure they would have talked about it. So I tried to focus on that one. But maybe that was a mistake because that was the closer game. But anyway, man, the Bulls... Jake White, goodness gracious, what are you doing, man? The Sharks, what a fall. I mean, it's preseason, don't read too much into this, but damn. Way to announce yourself. Tries galore. Starts with a head clash between Ward and Cornell Hendricks. Boom, 2 heads on each other. That looks horrendous. Ward gets yellow carded for a high tackle. And sure enough, the Bulls make them pay for having a man in the bin. Firstly, through Erasmus. They get a maul try, and it's 7-0. Then, not long later, this guy Hans, who I didn't know much about, but he certainly seems to have a bit of gas. He gets... Now, this one's kind of a Sharks mistake. It's a high ball. Kerwin Bosch, sun in his eyes. He makes a bit of a meal of it. And, yeah, the Bulls are able to get the ball. And suddenly, Libok missed a tackle as well, to be fair, but it's 14-0 in no time. The Sharks did look to hit back a little bit during the yellow card period, like cross kick from Bosch to that guy Muller Duplessis, but they couldn't quite capitalize on that chance. But it was looking a bit dangerous. It wasn't all the Bulls, but when you look at it, because then this guy Arenza, who's also got some wheels, he went over for the try. That one was what have I written there? Oh, length of the field. That's my note. Yeah, it pretty much was, man. And Kerwin Bosch, again, I mean, he had a hard job to try and stop the man, but he didn't get near him, did he? 21-0. 21-0. And that would go more than a point a minute, man. So the yellow card period ends up being 21-0. Absolutely brutal for the Sharks. They just couldn't catch a trick early, man. And, yeah, I was expecting the Bulls to be a bit slow and a bit ponderous with some of these old boys. But, man, they certainly got some guys with wheels. Sharks did have a 5-meter scrum out from the Bulls line. Again, they were looking to maybe turn the screws, but then Notche couldn't get it out of the back of the scrum. They ended up getting turned over. They went for a water break, which I guess is fair enough because it's probably the start of pretty warm weather over there. And then this man again, Arenza... It's a weird one as well because like 2 phases earlier, Trevor Inyekani gets absolutely hammered in a huge tackle, and then the Bulls just show from that going backwards. They just show some magnificent hands to get the ball out wide, and yeah, sure enough, he goes over, man. 28-0, 28-0. It gets worse if you're a Sharks fan. It gets better if you're a Bulls fan. There's a reason I'm wearing a Bulls jersey. Ishmael on 31 minutes. This time it was down the other wing. And it's just too easy, man. It's just wide ball after a scrum. Simple but effective. 35-0. 35-0. How many people saw that coming? It didn't end that well for the Bulls, though, as they did get Van Staden yellow carded for conceding too many penalties just before half-time, and the Sharks capitalised with Grant Williams taking a quick tap. This is the second time he'd done it. The first time he'd done it had been chalked off. The Sharks had another try chalked off for forcing it, like a kick-through forced on the dead ball line, so they had a couple of chances. It wasn't totally one-way traffic, but 35-0. This one counted, though. He has some wheels, that man, as well. So it's 35-7 at halftime. That's pretty brutal. They couldn't get any more points out of the yellow card in the second half. The Sharks, so the yellow card period finished 7-0. The Sharks were getting warned for a yellow card of their own for too many offside penalties in that second half. But eventually, it's a weird one because Lowe gets the try. The Sharks had literally just conceded a turnover, and then Lowe goes and grabs the Bulls guy who got the turnover, stripped the ball from him, and just went over for a try. It was all in the Bulls 22. It was a bit of a weird one, and to be honest, 35-14 at that stage, it's still looking like the Bulls all day long. But maybe the game seems to loosen up a bit at that point. It's a preseason game, so it's kind of to be expected. These guys haven't played in ages. I should say, and I'll probably say it again in case people just watch this one, I thought the overall quality was pretty bloody good for a first game back. Compared to some of the other games I saw, Aotearoa, AU, some of the European games, some of them were a bit hard to watch early on, but this one, maybe because they didn't have the pressure of actual points, though. Maybe that would have made a difference if this had been worth something other than just a bit of pride. Hard to say. I think going for some kind of preseason game probably actually worked out pretty well. But yeah, there's more tries. There's the first one for Creel for the Bulls. There's just space out wide for him, 42-14. Sharks hit back as the fringe of the ruck for Euster on 68. Well taken from the TMO. Did check it to make sure he wasn't on his knees, but he wasn't. 42-21. Bulls got another yellow card. This time it was Kriya for basically killing a ball when the Sharks were hot on attack. JP Peterson, if he'd been able to get the ball out of that ruck, probably would have gone over for a try, but Kriya was keeping it in. So cynical penalty, gets yellow carded. But it didn't matter because they got a try through Hendrickson on 72. Nice little dummy from him, 1 meter out. 42-28, looking a bit more respectable. But man, the Bulls weren't going down, not having the last say, because Creel gets another one right before full time to make it almost 50, 49-28, and that final yellow card finishes 7 apiece. So the Bulls probably get the better out of that one as well. Madness, tries galore. Would it have been that loose if it had been a game worth actual points and a lot fewer subs? Probably not. Do the Bulls look pretty bloody sharp out of the blocks? Very much so. Did the Sharks look a bit shell-shocked? Yeah, probably fair to say as well. But it's a preseason game. Like, as a Blues fan, man, I've seen my team rip it up in preseason enough times to know that it doesn't mean all that much. But if you're a Bulls fan, it's certainly very encouraging the way they showed up. Very sharp. Very, very sharp. Sharks have got a few guys injured to come back as well, but yeah, it's not nice being on the wrong end of almost 50 points, even if they did win the second half as a bit of a consolation. But yeah. So that was the first one, and to be fair, I probably paid a bit more attention to that one. It is really hard to watch two games of rugby at the same time. It's okay when there's like a stoppage in one, but some of the times it was all go. The second one, which was the Lions and the Stormers, and like I said, I was watching the other game a bit more, to be honest, in case I was getting spoiled, but this one was tight, and although it looks pretty comfortable at the Stormers, it's a pretty late try that kind of puts it out of reach for the Lions. But again, it was a bit of an interesting one. The subs maybe were a pretty big factor in this one as well. This one started with a hiss and a roar, man. The Lions got that first try really early, and they looked sharp as well. I mentioned it in the other game. Both teams looked, I think, pretty sharp compared to teams who've been coming back from a long layoff. Both teams look reasonably sharp. A cross kick, score son. Their scrum was under a bit of pressure, but they got the ball out. 7-0. Stormers kick a penalty, which I think was the only penalty of both games, to make it 7-3 on 9 minutes. Stormers scrum's looking pretty big, to be honest, early. And Dan du Plessis goes over for a try on 16 minutes. That was a bit of a bullet pass to hit him, and Lions missed tackle. So it's 10 points to 7. That's the only lead change of the game. Ori gets a yellow card at the breakdown on around half an hour. It's about 5 meters out after the Stormers had a line out. So again, I was watching the other game probably a bit more, but I'm assuming they'd been under heaps of pressure, cynical, collapsing more, something like that. You guys will have to let me know. 32 minutes, which is like a minute after that yellow card, the Lions get warned again for conceding another penalty in the red zone. Eventually, Intobini goes over for the try. Maybe that's a relief for the Lions because they didn't end up losing another man, to be fair. But it's a maul. They missed the conversion, and it's 15 points to 7. And just before halftime, Kolisi gets a try out on the right wing. Huge period of pressure. Mad passing from the Stormers. Like, I was switching between both games with my eyes, and the Stormers were just throwing the ball around, man. It seemed like madness. But it paid off. Space out wide for Kolisi, so they got the try eventually. So 20 points to 7 at halftime. Storm was looking relatively comfortable, and even more so when Galant got one of the tries of the weekend. Good individual effort, that one, man. He just like looked up, saw a prop, kind of shimmied around, and straight through the gap. Real good individual effort. Nothing really on, but yeah, great try. 27 points to 7. Eventually, though, the Lions seemed to start building some pressure, from what I could gather. And it pays off eventually with Ulingo getting one on the right wing. Huge loopy pass. If you guys haven't seen the highlights, both games are worth watching. But massive, massive pass. You'd have to count how many seconds it was in the air, at least 1 or 2. But yeah, he still got time to go over. He had to kind of take half a tackle, but good try from Ulingo. Good work from the Lions to get that one. 27-14, still looking pretty comfortable for the Stormers, to be fair. But Pelser's try on 62 minutes, direct from, it was a direct run, like short distance. He just hit the line at pace, which is kind of what you want. Good try. That's game on at that point. 21-27. They almost kind of win the lead as well. 69 minutes, they had a try ruled out for obstruction. It could have been the one that put them in front, but there was obstruction. Marius van der Westhuizen saw that one. And 71 minutes, the Stormers had a chance through Tristan Lades. All he had to do was pick up the ball and go over for a try. It had been kicked through by, I think it was Augustus, from memory. But the ball didn't bounce up for him at all. He made a good effort at it, and he couldn't quite do it. But if he'd got it, it would have been a try. Finally, though, Defet gets a try on 78 minutes. Good support line from him. He goes over, so it's 34-21. And that's all she wrote. It was kind of game over at that point. But yeah, bit more tension in this one compared to that one, given that the Bulls had such a massive lead in that first one. Stormers starting front row especially looks the business. And yeah, I think like the first game, overall, the quality's pretty good. If you're a South African fan and you're worried about the Springbok guys being underdone in the Rugby Championship, based on this, it's only one game, or 2 games, 1 weekend, it's pre-season. But the guys seem pretty sharp. Do they need more time? Definitely. Did the games both get a bit loose at points? For sure. But very encouraging signs. Much better than I thought it was going to be. Have I just missed South African rugby that much? I don't know. But the games were really, really fun. And obviously, if you're a Sharks fan, it's a bit concerning how flat they were in the first half. But they certainly picked it up in the second. And the Lions, despite being under the pump a wee bit, still managed to pull it back as well. So, yeah, encouraging, man. Very encouraging. Good stuff. What did you guys reckon? Like I said, I watched both games at the same time, so I probably missed a whole bunch of stuff, as you like to do. But I paid attention as best I could. Saved this for the whole day. Didn't know the results, which was pleasing. Managed to isolate myself enough from the results that I didn't pick up on any of that. Nothing like watching a game when you don't know the result, even if it's much delayed. If you know the result, just lacks that little bit of edge. If I'd known 49 points, I wouldn't have been so blown away by that first half effort. But yeah, top stuff. I think Gio Appline at one point jumped over Dwayne Vermeulen. Like madness. To get a high ball. It's like, bro, just let Dwayne get it. But nah, he had the momentum going forward. Crazy. Anyway, guys, you let me know your thoughts on these games. It's almost time for me to head off to bed, but in a pretty good mood after all that. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Take care. Bye.